We actually have a long tradition at UVM of hosting a community sugar on snow party.
Scientists think that the lifespan of a sugar maple is about 300 years. Indigenous people were among the first to tap maples for their sap, and as every Vermonter knows, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. I'm Jolie Whitney, this is Across the Fence, and today we're at Proctor Maple Research Center to talk all things research. Think of research as a relay race. One generation of scientists sets off to answer a question, which leads to more questions, which the next set of scientists attempt to answer, and so it goes. When this facility was established in 1947, this is where researchers began to understand the secrets of maple.
I would say we're pretty much there.
Later, we'll talk to Mark Isselhart and get a taste of a traditional Vermont sugar house treat. First, we're going to talk with the newly appointed scientific director, Tim Rademacher. So Tim, this is your first season at Proctor. How's it been so far?
It's been a slow start. January and February were really not that, they were slightly below average cold. But ever since it has picked up and we've got a couple of fantastic sap runs. We probably had one record-breaking sap run. We still need to confirm that.
Sure.
But, you know, it's been really good. We are now at roughly half of the amount of sap we make in a normal year. So we reached that halfway point. And we're slowly getting to a good season. We'll see how it plays out in the end.
Yeah, that's great. How have you been settling in?
It's been a roller coaster ride. It's a lot to take in, you know, to manage this whole facility and try to build a research program at the same time. But it's been fun. It's been a good challenge.
Great, absolutely. And so how many trees do you tap?
We are this year at almost 7,000 trees. So this operation has grown quite substantially over the past 20 years. We've more than tripled our tap count, and that's really with the intention of keeping this at a relevant level. We want to be representative of, you know, what a commercial sugaring operation looks like, so that we can make sure that the work we do can actually be applied to those operations. And the average sugaring operation in Vermont is growing, so we've been growing.
Great. So yeah, like you said, this is kind of reflective of what other sugarers are looking like now?
Yeah, we don't want to do science in an ivory tower. It's not small, it's not by no means large, but it's somewhere in between.
And you said you didn't want to do it from an ivory tower, which means probably not like the best tech available maybe. So what does it come like when you're boiling? Is that something that's also similar to Vermont sugarers?
Some of the equipment is something you could find in a small sugaring operation anywhere in Vermont. The idea is really that a lot of the science we do can be applied. Obviously, there are different aspects to it. There's such a variety of sugaring operations in Vermont. You know, some with buckets, some with wood-fired, some with wood-fired evaporators, some with high-level vacuum and reverse osmosis. And the industry as a whole has really moved along a lot when it comes to technology. So we do have all of that equipment on site, but that doesn't mean that a bucket still works.
Sure.
And it's still a fantastic way to like make maple syrup with your kids.
Yeah.
It's not the way the industry makes syrup anymore.
Sure. So it's kind of walking the line between cutting edge and also still approachable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, sugaring is more than just an industry. It's a community. It's part of the identity, and it's and you know, we need to preserve that to a certain degree. So there's a lot of history that comes with it, and the fundamental principles, the trees haven't changed. It's just the way we get the sap from the trees that has changed, and we then transform it.
Sure. Now let's talk a little bit about trees. When you were at Harvard, you made a tree talk, so to speak. So how did that happen?
Yeah, that was a fun story. At Harvard Forest, I realized that there was all of these different data streams. You know, we got temperature data, we got data on photosynthesis, on respiration, on so many different aspects, and I could see a story in that data. But that's because I was trained as a scientist to decipher that story, and I wanted to share that story of life as a tree in a changing environment with a larger audience. So I thought I will write an algorithm to analyze this data in real time, so that then actually they could follow the story along. And that's what I did. So the Witness Tree project was born, where basically the tree had its own social media account and would post messages like, today is the 24th hottest day I can remember, which was based on 64 years of weather data. Yeah.
Wow, so are you thinking of doing something similar here at UVM?
The hope is to do this. It requires a substantial amount of data in real time, so we are starting to set this up. We just set up some equipment this year, for example, where you can follow the sap flow in real time, temperature, soil moisture, a lot of variables. And I'm slowly building a suite of sensors so that we get enough data streams to eventually create a message, an account that is, varied enough to be interesting, that you can really tell the story of life as a tree more holistically and not just talk about temperature.
All right, I understand. And when you were before you came here, you also worked in Canada, which also has a huge maple production. But what's different between there and here?
There are some things that are not different at all. I mean, a tree is a tree, a maple tree is a maple tree. They don't care which side of the border they're on. But then there are other things that change abruptly at the border, right? Regulations, laws, and even how the industry is organized is very different in Canada than it is in Vermont. And to be honest, some of those differences are also true with other states, like Maine or New York. So there are some things like the trees themselves, the ecosystem, the way the collection system works, like these more fundamental questions that, they are applicable anywhere. And everybody can learn from what we do. And there are other things which are more specific to the legislation and regulations in this particular place.
Maple trees live about 300 years, but we've only been studying for maybe 150 or less. So what does that mean for you?
That means that there's still so much to learn. It means that these kind of facilities, and Proctor is unique in the world in a lot of ways, and it's a really necessary facility because we need to think about this in terms of the long term. We need to think about the lifespan of the tree. We can't think about studying maple in terms of grant funding cycles of 2 or 3 years or students that are here for 2 or 3 years. We really need to think about how can we understand the tree in the long term over its entire life cycle. And that's why we need institutions like Proctor to study the trees.
Hi Mark, it's nice to see you, and we came to where you work instead of the other way around this time.
Thanks for coming, Jolie.
Absolutely, this has been incredible, and you have quite a setup for us here to enjoy, so tell me a little bit about what we're making here.
So we're making a traditional Vermont sugar on snow, and for those of you who have never had it before, it's syrup that is boiled to a higher density. So when it hits the snow, it sets up sort of like a taffy. It's not just warm maple syrup, it's actually more concentrated, so it's a nice sugary treat.
Sure, and I've got to see you set it up a little bit, so there's a little bit more to it. Tell me, how hot does this maple syrup have to be?
Right, so syrup boils roughly around 219 Fahrenheit. Sugar on snow goes to 235 Fahrenheit, thereabouts. The important thing is that if you don't go hot enough, it'll just melt to the bottom and be kind of like a slush. If you go too much, it'll start impacting your fillings and
okay.
be,
you have to go to the dentist. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you want to make it just right. And this is a very old tradition. This is something that dates back to before we actually made syrup as the finished product. It was actually hard sugar, which is more shelf stable. When you're doing that, you're coming through this temperature range, and traditionally sugar makers would have a party, invite their friends and neighbors, and celebrate it. It's traditional to have it with a dill pickle, always a dill pickle, for a sweet and sour sort of flavor combination, and then a plain raised donut. We've got some fresh Underhill snow, and we're gonna just pour it over and give you a fork, and you can grab the donut when you feel like it.
Okay. Oh, I haven't had this in a while, so I'm very excited. Oh, I'm losing some snow. That's incredible. I'm not done. I have to try the pickle. You got the sweet?
Yep.
You got the sour dill?
Yep.
So do you get to do this a lot working here?
We actually have a long tradition at UVM of hosting a community sugar on snow party. It actually dates back to the 1940s and 50s when Dean Hills hosted a party. In fact, we have pictures from back in the 1950s up here with maple researchers from the first sort of generations at UVM, as well as folks who were destined to take over and found the Proctor Center. So pretty exciting to be part of this continuum.
Mark, you've been working here since you were an undergraduate, obviously Proctor's been doing research for decades, so how does it feel to be kind of a part of that?
Well, it's an amazing institution, over 75 years here in Underhill. When I joined, the operation here was still burning wood. We didn't have an RO. It was essentially a continuation of technology that was invented in the 50s. We had tubing, we had vacuum, but even the vacuum system was very modest. Some of the research that's come out of here has looked at what are the best management practices, all while trying to keep an eye on the sustainability of those practices. It's been a very dynamic period for maple in Vermont. We're building a story over many, many years to understand how this technology is impacting trees. So it's been great to be part of it. I've really enjoyed it. I think there's always more questions to ask, and I doubt that even within my lifetime or the people who will come after us, we're going to get to a point where we have it all figured out. Just like Hills and Marvin and Taylor and Dr. Morcelli and all of them, none of them were satisfied to say we figured it all out. So to be part of that continuum is really special. I enjoy the fact that producers of all sizes contribute to the story of what Vermont maple is, and I enjoy trying to help them in understanding whatever struggles they have in terms of making the product they want, in terms of volume or quality. There's no shortage of questions that come up.
Sure, so you might not be satisfied in the end, but you'll definitely be in business for a while.
There is plenty of job security in terms of questions about this very unique product.
My thanks to Tim Rademacher, Mark Isselhart, and all of the staff here at Proctor Maple Research Center for hosting us today. And my thanks, of course, to our Across the Fence Roadshow team, Ben, Keith, and Caleb. I'm Jolie Whitney. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.